This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is the LG V20. Again, we did a pre-review because we had a pre-release unit that LG said no official reviews, but do everything else that you want. So now we have the final release here, and there are a couple of improvements. The screen looks better, for example, than compared to the one that we had before. And for those of you who are really missing the Samsung Galaxy Note 7, that fabulous phablet that's no more because of the battery brouhaha, well, this is a 5.7-inch phone available on all major carriers. Obviously, we have the Verizon version here, but you can get it on any carrier. So it's a big Android phablet, Snapdragon 820 inside, 4 gigs of RAM, 64 gigs of storage, microSD card slot for storage expansion, and a couple of other goodies. So it's probably worth a look if you're an X-Note person or if you're just looking for a big Android phone that's at the high end. We're going to look at it now. All right, this is a phone that obviously can take a very good picture of cats. There we have a picture taken with the camera on the back. We'll get into that. It's a good camera, folks. In fact, there's actually 2 cameras on the back. The basics you already know. We have a high-end CPU inside. We have Android 7.0 Nougat. So it's one of the first to have that. The Pixel, of course, has 7.1 with the Google Assistant. Probably this will get that someday. It's available on all carriers. It's going to be on the expensive end, you know, as much as a Galaxy S7 Edge, that sort of thing in terms of pricing. And its claim to fame, besides the pretty good cameras on the back, is a high-quality audio jack. Now we got a headphone jack right there. This really has impressive audio out. Even if you're not an audiophile, if you listen to another phone and you listen to this, you're going to say, wow, assuming you're using a decent pair of headphones. It has a 32-bit stereo quad audio DAC, and it's an ESS Sabre inside. Can do high impedance headphones. So you audiophiles who like your high impedance headphones, you can do that here. So yeah, it's the best sound experience I've ever heard. And the other big claim to fame is the push button, because ta-da, removable battery. And yes, it's a metal back. It might look like plastic, but it's a metal back. Note the 2 cameras here. We'll talk about that in a minute. That is not unlike the LG G5 dual camera setup. And notice there's no removable chin here. There are no LG G5 style Friends removable modules. I call that a good thing. And last but not least, in terms of nifty hardware features, we have this little secondary strip. So if I turn off the display by pressing the rear power button, which obviously isn't the most convenient, I have to go looking for it, you can see it's a little strip up here that has controls. You can turn on your flashlight. You can, when it's turned on, use it to quick launch applications, get status. You can see notifications here even when the display is off. Pretty nifty. They did that with the V10. It's back and a little bit brighter here and a little bit more full featured. So again, you know, if for those of you who like lots of bells and whistles on your phones rather than that kind of clean Google Pixel / Nexus experience, well, this is definitely one that has a lot of features. Braintree Payments is our sponsor for this video, and we want to thank them for their support. It's not easy developing commercial mobile apps, but that doesn't mean accepting payments has to be hard. Braintree makes integrating mobile payments a breeze. They allow you to accept nearly any kind of payment from any device with a single integration. PayPal, Android Pay, whatever the next thing is. Android, iOS, JavaScript, all those clients are supported, as are a variety of currencies. Their code's elegant and clearly documented, and their simple and flexible SDK makes your job at accepting payments easier. Learn more at braintreepayments.com/tech-review. So to give you an idea of the difference in the styling from the LG V10, which was a pretty good phone, to the LG V20, they've gone for a cleaner look here, very simple. It's a little bit thinner too, less of a curvy hump on the rear. Now the old LG V10 had this rubbery, rugged back that was also removable with the stainless steel rails. So there you have the difference. I leave it up to you as to which look you like better, but this is pretty clean and pretty modern. Not exceptional by any means, but yeah, that is what it is. And then there's the Google Pixel XL, 5.5 inches, bigger chin, bigger forehead here, so not much of a smaller phone, but is a little bit smaller. Obviously, the Pixel gets you the AMOLED display, and if we compare the way they look, turn them over, you can see we have, well, variations on silver here, because we have silver for both of our models. A little bit of glass over here, yeah. So that's how they look together. Obviously, the Pixel is the one for people who love clean Android, want to get their updates right away. The V20, once again, it has a lot of hardware bells and whistles on there. And the fact that it ships with Android 7 Nougat tells me maybe that LG is going to be working hard on keeping this up to date, at least for a year or 2. And then there's the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge right here in gold. Boy, is that gold, isn't it? You can get this in a variety of colors, actually. So, you know, black, silvery, kind of look at very different designs. Obviously a smaller phone. It has a 5.5-inch display, so it's a smaller display, but it's a very compact design, honestly. They fit a lot of screen in a small place. You got the curvy glass here. You have, I would say that this is a more daring and bold look and a more attractive phone overall, but beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and there is more than beauty to consider with a phone. In terms of thickness, you know, they're pretty close in terms of that, but obviously your V20 is going to be that big phone. All right, let's talk about software and LG UI. So pretty normal looking home screen here because you have the option to have a normal home screen just like you do on any other Android phone. Now by default what it has is this home page here and then all of your apps thrown on the side of the screen. Sort of, you know, iPhone like. I have turned that off, and that speaks to LG's amazing customization. And by the way, here you can see pretty standard actually Android style launcher and quick controls for just about everything on the phone. So, say you want to change your home screen look. Tap home screen, there it is. We've got the smart bulletin, I don't know whoever uses this. So, regular home, this one right here. Ta-da! All your applications are thrown onto the home screen if you want that. The display setting has a blue light filter, and you can control the gradation of that. So if you really you want it on, but you don't want it super duper yellow, well, you can have that too. The second screen, you've got customizations for that, what shows on there. If you want the second screen to be on when the main screen is off, you can even set a timeout. So I have it set to actually not run all night long, but you might want it on all night long so you can see the time in the night. You have customizations for motion, what happens if you shake the phone and all that sort of thing. You can enable knock on, which I like. You tap the screen twice and it actually wakes up so you can see your alerts and that sort of thing. And you've got home touch buttons right here. You can move those around. You can assign secondary stuff. So the thing with the LG is if you don't like something, check the settings because chances are you can disable it. Or if you want a feature, chances are you can enable it. In that way, LG UI is fine. Beyond that, I personally find it a little bit overdone, a little bit overbearing, but then I'm not really into the TouchWiz and LG approach to things. I kind of like the Pixel way of doing things more, but you may be different, and that is totally cool. That's why we have choice. Now the display is a 5.7-inch QHD LCD IPS sort of display. So those of you who love Super AMOLED might find this to be, brightness is pretty good on this, on our final model. I see an improvement, it's completely an improvement over the prototype that we had to look at in our first look. And viewing angles are better too. Of course there's going to be glare, but compared to LG's earlier IPS display where I saw a lot of brightness shifting, this is definitely improved. The color balance to me looks pretty well on. Obviously we don't have a lot of blue-greens going on in the kitty right here, but you know, like I said, there is a setting for everything. And if you go into accessibility services, you can even fine-tune the colors of the display if you want. And that is under Vision and screen color adjustment. So if you turn this on, these are all kind of weird color skewed. You want to go to manual, and then you can move your finger around and fine-tune the color calibration of the display. Again, I find it okay where it is, so it's nice. So overall, I like the display. It doesn't have the wow factor, obviously, of a Super AMOLED display, but it's sharp and it's viewable outdoors, and well, that's what you would love to see in a display, isn't it? Gorilla Glass 4 over here on the front face. Now our cameras, a few people have commented that the glass that's covering this whole area over here is kind of thin, and they've managed to crack it. Obviously we haven't cracked ours yet, but that's something that you might want to be careful of. Maybe put a case on this. We have dual cameras here, just like the LG G5. We have a 16 megapixel main camera and an 8 megapixel super wide angle lens. I mean really very wide angle. If you're a realtor taking interior shots, it would be perfect for that. If you're going to the Grand Canyon, it's fantastic for that. I've said before, you know my feeling. I have more use for a telephoto lens, which Apple did on the iPhone 7 Plus, but it's really up to the kinds of things that you're going to be taking a picture of as to which you like more. The 16 megapixel rear main camera on this, the higher resolution, default standard normal 35 millimeter approximation view field, has an f1.8 lens. The secondary very wide angle lens is f2.4, and that's only an 8 megapixel camera. And you switch between them by doing that, the 3 trees versus the 1 tree. So you get an idea of how much more you're seeing right here. And you know the kind of pictures you take, how useful you think that is or not. This is optical image stabilization on board and a better electronic stabilization algorithm too. Pictures on this are quite good. Is it going to beat the Samsung Galaxy S7 or the Google Pixel XL or the iPhone 7 Plus? I'm not really, but it's not really going to lag behind them considerably either. And one of the neat things is, we see the manual photo, manual video over here, you have a whole lot of control. So if you're into that, and you can shoot RAW, by the way, if you want to. So we have all sorts of manual control here, even our shutter speed, which is pretty uncommon on smartphones. And for video, you even have things like choosing the directionality of the microphones. If I tap here, I can set the different levels for the 3 microphones. I can move the pattern around of directionality, so you can really control it. If you know the person speaking to the left and there's a noisy car or street off to the right, you can sort of compensate for that. So how the pictures look? Well, we'll include a few sample photos for you to see how it looks, and video as well. It looks good. So we have the Snapdragon 820 in here, an ample amount of RAM, and of course it's going to be a fast phone. This is about, you know, as fast as you get right now in Android land, and obviously Asphalt 8 here is playing very smoothly. Oops. In terms of benchmarks, and we'll show you the benchmarks in just a minute, it does about as well as any of the other flagship Android phones on the market. A couple of scores it lags behind, and for some reason LGs always do, but only by a little bit, in scores like Quadrant. It does very well in Antutu, it does very well in 3D benchmarks. There's a fingerprint scanner on the back. That's what LG's been doing for a while, and this doubles as the on-off button. I do prefer that on the front as well, just so I don't have to pick up the phone to unlock it. But since we have Tap to Wake, at least I can get a glance of my home screen. That's not the worst problem to have, and it works pretty quickly and efficiently. Volume buttons are over here, which is pretty normal stuff. Headphone jack on the bottom, speaker on the bottom, USB-C connector for charging and file transfer right dead center there. So with the pop of a button, our back comes off, and you have a micro SD card slot and a nano SIM card slot. So expandable storage and a, wow, you don't see that much anymore, removable battery, 3200 milliamp. That's a pretty good capacity battery. Now, previous LG phones, the LG G4, the LG G5, some older ones, despite having pretty good capacity batteries, they didn't always have the best battery life. This thing has wonderful standby, first off, and that means how little power it uses when you're actually not doing anything with the phone, when you're sleeping overnight, and that probably is helped by Android Doze feature. But overall, LG's just done something right with the battery life on this, and even for active use with this. And you know, I hate actually talking about screen on time anymore because it's so variable. Do you mean screen on time when you're using the GPS or playing a game versus browsing the web? You know what I mean. With an average mix of use, playing some videos, checking out web pages, doing email, doing social networking, streaming YouTube, taking pictures, taking video, this easily lasts me the whole day. Whereas sometimes with my Galaxy S7 Edge, you know, say from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., sometimes I'd be getting a little low on battery. This typically makes it to 10 or 11 at night with moderate to heavy use. So that's the LG V20, cat not included, but you know what, it is a very nice phone, and it's not the phone for everybody. That doesn't mean there's something wrong with it. That means that some people really like the clean Android experience of something like the Google Pixel or even the HTC 10, and some people like that kind of customization that you get, the heavy UI overlay that Samsung TouchWiz has, that LG's UI has. So if you're the kind of person that likes the software bells and whistles and likes the hardware features and all the little gizmos and stuff, then this is probably a phone that you should be looking at. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to visit our website for the full written review and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos. Oh, and hey, thumbs up if you liked the video.